In this film, we've got views like this, discoveries like this, and in the LiDAR, this. So over there, we have the narrowing Solway Firth. And then over that way, we have a castle in some boggy woodland. Now look at the name of that castle. Caerlaverock Castle. Now, knowing how clever you lot are, I'm sure you've identified the Care part of that name is Britonic. So effectively, it's an ancient Celtic name. Now, we'll come to the second part of that castle's name in due course. But the first bit, Care, is fort. It's the Celtic word for fort. But look up on the hill above the castle in the bog. Have a look on the map as well, perhaps, and you'll see Wardlaw. And that tree-crowned summit up there conceals what is considered to be an Iron Age Hillfort. They're about a mile apart, basically. Earliest date on the castle is 13th century. Is there a link between the two? Is the Hillfort actually Iron Age? And what were the Romans doing up there? This is southwest Scotland, where the natives were never defeated. There's the possibility, isn't there, that it's not an Iron Age Hillfort. They don't always have to be Iron Age, you know. Maybe it dates later. Possibly it dates to, what should we call it? The Scottish Dark Age. Other more acceptable phrases are available. We seem to keep tripping over forts that at first glance are Iron Age and yet lack evidence for that, whilst turning up Dark Age finds. LTVs will remember the Motte of Mark, not too far along the coast from here, with its troubling vitrified stones. So with our 13th century castle down in the boggy woods, I found myself wondering if we were actually looking at a Dark Ages fort on top of the hill here that migrated down to the bottom of the valley over a few centuries. And note, Wardlaw has never been excavated. There are no Iron Age finds. Never mind, it's not stopped us before. Let's investigate. We have just one day to do it, and we will not be lifting a single trowel. We're going to have an investigation on the ground of the Hillfort remains. We've got the LiDAR as well, and we'll see what we can find in the old records. I would like to wholeheartedly apologise for the absence of a shot of me throwing a stone in the sea. It's not that I couldn't reach the sea from where I filmed the intro, it's that it's a freezing cold day today and the stones are actually frozen solid to the ground, so that's why I couldn't do that. That there behind me then is Caerlaverock Castle. I've already covered the Care bit, Britonic for fort. What about the Laverock? We think it comes from this word. And he was a leader of the kingdom of Reged up until around about 630 AD when the Angles took over. When I say we think, it's an opinion. Many would argue that we're way north of Reged here, although the Scottish heritage lady that I spoke to was familiar with this idea. But in reality, it may just be the lost Britonic name for a river that has mutated to Laverock via Scottish, referring to skylarks or something like that. So it's a tenuous way to link the presence of this fortification name back to the 7th century, and it's dying on my lips, to be honest. What we do know is that the earliest iteration of the castle goes back to the 1220s, a big gap from the Iron Age then. However, I was able to find a source that claimed the name was there in 950 AD, so nearly 300 years earlier, which is interesting. It was home to the Maxwell family for over 300 years, no relation to the newspaper baron. We don't have newspaper barons nowadays, do we? Although I was surprised to see this. Now, Wikipedia confidently informs us that the castle was preceded by several fortifications in the area, a Roman fort on Wardlaw Hill and a British fort that was in use around 950. Now, that latter statement surely must come from that earlier record of the name. I can find absolutely no other evidence to substantiate that the Hillfort was in use as late as 950 AD. I liked this view of it from the castle ramparts, though, looking down on its successor, perhaps. So with no way of linking the castle to the fort on the hill, next step was to see if I could get a sense of whether the ramparts up there originate from the Iron Age or the Dark Age. This was filmed on a very cold day, so whilst I have some fun with the ice, a quick word on Hewison. He listed the Hillfort as a 15th century beacon, and that's where the Wardlaw name originates from. A place for beacon fires and a lookout when the clan Maxwell lived down below. I haven't seen it suggested that this was the origin of the earthworks, but it is another consideration. And maybe now you've seen my moves on the ice, those of you who post comments about me looking old and or ill will now eat your comments. Now, I just bumped into a chap called Dave, and he does stone carving. Looked really good. I've taken a picture of his Instagram page. I'll put that up. Go and check it out. He promises me he's going to subscribe. I'm now on my way up to Wardlaw Iron Age Hillfort. Now, we do need, of course, to consider what is the Iron Age in Scotland. Because despite the presence of a Roman marching camp up there next to our Hillfort, Scotland doesn't have a Roman era. So generally the Iron Age in Scotland is something like about 800 BC through to 400 AD. Now you can probably tell what a glorious day it is. I had hoped to be getting the drone up. Yes, despite these fantastic blue skies, it is dangerously windy, so I don't think I'm going to be getting the drone up today. Incidentally, if you're the sort of viewer who likes to annoy YouTubers and mess up their plans, since the 1st of January 2026, to fly a drone above 100 grams in weight, you have to have done a test and get a pass mark to secure something called a flyer ID. So if you see a YouTuber out flying their drone, go and demand to see their flyer ID and see whether they're operating within the law. I have, of course, conformed. I've done the test. I got 38 out of 40. The pass mark is 30 out of 40. The two that I got wrong, I mistakenly believed that in the event that you saw an air ambulance, you were meant to fly your drone towards it to see if you could help. And I also thought that it was okay to transport bottles of bleach on a drone. But apart from that, I was fine. Apologies, it's another one of those videos where I'm going to be sniffing all the time. It is freezing. I've just had to dart around. I've nearly destroyed the drone, getting as much B-roll footage as I possibly can, and I just have to hope it all comes together in the edit. Here's some raw sound from the day. But do not fear, things turn out just fine, as you will see. 2 ramparts enclosing the summit of the hill. I think that's the entrance, which is currently being churned up by forestry operations. At 313 feet above sea level, the fort commands 360-degree views, and it certainly feels Iron Age, if I'm allowed to say that. But no reason why it couldn't have enjoyed a Dark Age operational life too. Just way too good not to use, I'd say. A retreat, a lookout, a symbol of prestige, probably too small to live in permanently. As normal, the LiDAR really sells it. Look at the Southern Ditch survival. You can't see that on the ground.
and that's the highest section of rampart, which we'll be coming back to in a bit.
Hillfort or Beacon, both. This place works. The views across the Solway Firth and the surrounding countryside are absolutely perfect. I keep getting comments on my videos about, am I all right? You're looking ill. I'm not ill. I just come out and film these things in absolutely freezing and horrific conditions. And that is the case here today. It's now about -3 on this Hillfort. Now, I've come round to the northern side. I hope you can hear me. It's very blowy. So north is about there. And I've just had a disastrous attempt to send the drone out. I wanted to get some shots out that way because it's on that side of the Hillfort that the Romans chose to put their camp. And I didn't get any footage, so you'd have to do with ground level shots to show you that it is on a dip. So they chose not to put their marching camp right on the top of the hill. They put it just off the top of the hill, which to me is a fairly strong argument that this Hillfort was actually here then. And they have a bit of a reputation, the Romans, in this area, don't they, for plonking marching camps next to Iron Age Hillforts. So check out our video on Burns Walk for some more on that. Hey, nervous little Englishman that I am, I forgot that I'm in Scotland and basically I can go where I want in these fields. So I've come out here, just outside the fort, to this interesting intersection of fields, and the Ordnance Survey map tells me that I am slap bang on top of the marching camp. And actually, if I walk this way using my OS maps, I'm walking on the line of it. No sign of it at all, but it was recorded as visible in 1772. And then in 1976, somebody spotted on aerial photography some form of what appeared to be Roman ditch with tituli connecting somewhere around about where I am here, the southeast sort of corner of the fort, to the Hillfort.
The camp shows nicely in Phil Barrett's LiDAR, but I can't see this supposed ditch linking the camp to the fort. Can you? That's your homework. Is that a big titulus down there? But I like how this shows the almost awkward angle as if plonked in a hurry, which it probably was. And then when I finally managed to get the drone up, look, still showing it in the soil today. Wonderful. This has been excavated twice, unlike the Hillfort, and that's why its map label changed from Roman fort to Roman camp. It is a camp thrown down next to the Hillfort, which must have been there, otherwise the Romans would have been on the top of the hill, surely. This is the reason for this title and the upfront disclaimer, because I always get comments about how the Romans never defeated the Scots. Well, the simple truth is, in this part of Scotland, they did, for a time. This camp probably dates to Agricola's campaign of 80 AD. But hey, ultimately, the native Hillfort has endured, whilst the Roman camp has slipped into the earth. Alternatively, I did that because Adam Morgan Ibbotson told me it increases views. Ha ha ha! Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
Marvellous, isn't it? If any of you are worried that there isn't going to be a self-indulgent drone flying round the Hillfort sequence, accompanied by some trendy and funky electronic music, stop worrying now, because on the way back, as the sun was setting, the wind dropped and I was finally able to get it up. So there is going to be such a sequence in this film. I don't know, it might even be next. I haven't decided yet. I am now stood on the highest part of the Hillfort. So is this Hewison's 15th century beacon, his Wardlaw signal station? Interestingly, there is stone here. This is the only place I've seen stone inside the Hillfort. Although now I'm up here, it doesn't look like the base of a signal station or a beacon, anything like that. It just looks like, you know, the top level of a Hillfort. Look at that up on this highest bit. Big old chunk of stone there. Look at that. Beautiful, isn't it? Now, just a cautionary note on that stone up on the top, the beacon idea, that those stones might be something to do with a 15th century beacon. It is worth noting that the outer perimeter of the fort today is marked by a dry stone wall. But I had a look at that, it looks to be different. I'd say those stones up on the top there are from a different period.
I have no doubt this was used as a beacon. It's a phenomenal sight, and whilst we can't prove any continuity after the Iron Age, I just know it happened. The mumbo of these places is really starting to get to me now, and I'll be carrying crystals before I know it. Oh, and I did find another piece of stone up there, and it looked remarkably like it came from the castle.
What's in a name, eh? It's interesting, stood up here at the Hillfort, I've got a perfect view down there to the castle that seems to reflect this place or some sort of connection to it in its name. I made a comment earlier about the castle seeming to be built in a bog. Well, apparently the first iteration of that castle, 1220s, something like that, actually sunk. It was so boggy. Now, last year, if I'd have spotted this, then I would have seen that as an opportunity to sort of contrive an ending for the video to try and stop it from being so awkward. But in the first two videos this year, I feel as though we've got so close to the endings being okay, I'm going to ignore this camp. And this week, I'm going to crack it. Oh, please like and subscribe. It's free. I hope you found that mildly diverting, and to show you that I'm not ill, I'm going to jump down these steps. Perhaps not from that one. There we go. There you go. How ill is that? When I was filming up here today, I met a lady and she said to me, it's a shame they don't make more of this place. And it gave me the opportunity to tell her that that's exactly what WC21 UK Productions Limited does. It makes more of the small places. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated? Good night.